Hi, and welcome back to Pokemon Emerald. In the last episode, we were on our way to training up our team for the Elite Four Challenge. Our Pans finally evolved into Aggron, and now we shall be continuing on our way training to level up to a level where we can start possibly grinding on the Elite Four itself if that's necessary. So, there's no real plan set. I'm just going to travel around the map and see what trainers have reactivated, if any at all. And I will probably go grind in the best locations I can think of. Okay. In the last episode we were using the deepest part of Meteor Falls, so I suppose I'll continue with that for a little bit. But before going into the cave, let's take a look around with a good old match call. See if there are any trainers active. Now these guys are on that surfing route, I really don't want to do that. We've got Steve. Route 114, is that the... Let's see... The good old Steve is at Route 114... 13... 10... 15, 114... Okay, Steve is on the way. And as I said in the last episode, I believe I said it in the last episode, it's true that now I have played Scarlet and Violet. I think I'm about 10 to 15 hours into the game. Well, 10 to 15 hours worth of playing. Of course, I've been taking my time and doing a lot of exploring. I'm only 3 or 4 badges in. I've done 2 of the Path of Legends quests, and I believe 2 or 3 of the Starfall Street, or Operation Starfall quests. So I guess technically I'm more than 3 badges into the game, and I'm also technically not. But I've had a decent amount of time with the game, and my impressions so far have been generally positive. Of course, everyone knows that there are graphical issues with the game. There's some frame rate chugging, some pop-in, characters standing at odd angles during battles, but I don't think that particular thing is much of an issue. I have had the game crash on me entirely once before. I hadn't saved, so I lost about 3 or so hours of work, but I was able to go back and do that again. Thankfully, I didn't encounter any shinies during that particular stretch of playtime. I did run into, I believe, 2 shiny Magikarp and 2 shiny Chinks. So I'm not sure if I think the shiny rates are higher generally, and I don't believe I did anything to activate increased shiny odds for those Pokemon in particular. So I believe those were all natural shinies. So I'm not using them, of course, because my general role is to try and play through a game using a team of entirely new Pokemon. But for Pokemon variety in this game, and due to getting evolutions and stuff, I have had to go back and raise a few Pokemon from previous generations. But since the Pokédex is so big and there are a sizable amount of new Pokemon, which I'm very, very pleased with, great going in unspoiled and seeing so many new Pokemon and learning about them on site, basically. It's a great experience, everything I hoped for in terms of the Pokedex. A variety of good new Pokemon. I should note that I'm playing the game on an original Switch from all the way back when it released in, what was it, 2017? So that could be a part of the issue. Why I actually experienced the game crash. I've only experienced one crash so far, so I'm thankful for that. But graphical issues aside, the game is a really fun experience. It is truly an open world Pokemon experience. I still miss the random encounters. But I know that having random encounters probably wouldn't work in an open world setting. I'm trying to think. I don't know of any games that have open world settings that do random encounters. They all do on the map encounters. I think Pokemon probably could have broken new ground if they had done that, or very lightly treaded ground that no one's made any big landmark impacts on. I think Pokemon could have done that, but probably better that they took the safe route in the end. So I still miss random encounters, but I'm okay with the overworld encounters. There are some things that kind of can remind you a little bit of what random encounters are like there's some Pokemon that are so small you can't see them in the grass, and they're very aggressive and like to run up and attack the player. So you will have what it kind of mimics true random encounters. When they sneak up on you, you don't see them coming in the grass because they're so small. Or when you're riding through the grass really fast, not paying that much attention, and you can't see them, and you run into them by accident. So there's a little bit of that random encounter flavor, but not enough to suit my taste personally. But thankfully I am okay with open world games and open world experiences, so... And the amounts of Pokemon definitely makes up for it, because there is a decent variety. Going back to the topic of shinies, some well, as everyone knows, some shinies species are hard to see because they have almost no difference from the original coloration of the Pokemon. Examples like Garchomp, Togekiss, and Gengar. All examples of shinies that you can't really tell at first glance that there's anything different from the original. People have been pretty upset that there's no indicator for shinies when they appear on the screen now. Usually, at least in older games, that would give an indication. You'd hear a sound indicating that a shiny spawned, and you would see them sparkling on the overworld map, so that would make them stand out. In Scarlet and Violet, there is absolutely no indication. There's no sound, they don't sparkle, so the only way you can tell that a shiny has appeared on the screen is if you actually see it and notice it. So that encourages being very careful while traveling. I've seen lots of people that have run past shinies and regretted it because they didn't notice at the time that it was a shiny they were running past. Or they didn't even see it on the map because there was no audio cue that a shiny had spawned somewhere very close to them. I think that might have been an intentional decision because the shiny rate is so improved. So they've shifted it from randomness of the encounter to making it easier for human error to occur with the player. So they miss shinies because of not paying close enough attention in their hunts, or not paying close enough attention while they're out there randomly searching and one happens to spawn that they weren't even looking for. I think that maybe that will be patched out and they will add in an indication that a shiny has spawned on the map. Personally, I could go either way on that. I haven't gotten into legitimate shiny hunting yet, so I'll see. I'll save that for the post-game, though I did do a little bit. A small amount of trying to hunt for shiny Char Cadet, just to see, since there was an outbreak. And I happened to be in that area, so I figured why not. So I did a little bit of light shiny hunting. I didn't do anything like eat this. I don't think I can eat special sandwiches that increase shiny rates yet. I think that's a post-game thing. But I just wanted to generally test if shinies spawn that frequently. And they don't seem to, so that's good. I know there are people that lament that shinies are becoming more and more common with increased shiny odds in every new game. And personally, I can see where those people are coming from. As I said, it doesn't bother me too much personally. But going to the soundtrack of the game, I like the soundtrack. So far, I haven't experienced the entire soundtrack yet, of course, since I haven't gotten to the end game. I haven't completed the game, but so far, I think my favorite themes are probably the Team Star themes for the grunts, as well as the boss theme for Team Star. I like the Terrastall raid theme is okay. I like Arvin and Nemona's battle themes, those are good. The regular trainer encounter theme is decent enough. And the wild encounter theme is pretty good too. The gym theme is okay. It's definitely not as hype as the gym theme from Sword and Shield. I think that gym theme is going to hold the crown of the most hyped gym theme ever. And I think that's it for the music that I've encountered so far. Speaking of the Terra raids, I tried those out. Well, the little Terra raids that you can do while you're doing the in-game story, and those have been fun. I think I like the Terra raid battles more than the max raid battles of Sword and Shield. They flow a lot faster, as expected, and they are, I think, more challenging to an extent. Well, not to an extent, they are overall more challenging. In Sword and Shield, the challenge would normally be from, when you're playing solo, from the AI trainers being kind of useless. In this game, the AI trainers are a lot improved, but so is the AI of the actual raid Pokemon itself. The Terrastall feature adds a nice the Terrastallizing feature adds a nice twist to it, because the Pokemon itself will have a different Terra type, but it will still know all of its regular moves from whatever species it is. So for example, you run into a dragon type Rockruff. Of course the Rockruff still has all those rock moves that it knows, so if you send in an ice type to take advantage, you have to remember that the Rockruff will still know Rock Throw or Rock Slide or whatever rock move, and it could just knock out your Pokemon in a single hit. So that's a very interesting element, and it actually gives the players a taste of what it would be, of what to expect when going into actual competitive battles against other humans. Because I expect that's how the crystallizing will be used in competitive battles. Like your fire type becomes a water type, but it still knows all its fire type moves, so when your opponent sends in a grass type to try and counter, you just use a fire move and they get roasted. So the terrestrializing is it's as expected, a lot, very in-depth. Okay, let's get that last hit in, Pans. Some mechanics they have changed a little bit, like for example, they have changed hail into snow, which as snow, hail, the weather, hail has become snow. It boosts the defense of ice-type Pokemon, which is good, but it removes the passive damage that hail did to all non-ice-type Pokemon, and I think that was a mistake. Because they haven't removed weather that does passive damage entirely. Sandstorm still does passive damage. And I think that the passive damage that hail did was one of its strong suits, and the buff that they give hail through boosting the defense of ice-type Pokemon isn't enough to balance out the nerf they gave hail by removing the passive damage. Ideally, hail should do passive damage and grant the buff, just like Sandstorm grants the buff and does passive damage. Maybe it's because Sandstorm doesn't increase the accuracy of any moves? But maybe that's their thinking, that it doesn't increase the accuracy of any moves, so maybe it doesn't increase the accuracy of any moves, so don't grant it the passive damage, but that doesn't make sense because that still doesn't balance it out enough. I feel like it was an intentional change for sure, since it fits the theme of the weather. In real life, you get pelted with hail, you don't get pelted with snow when it's falling from the sky. So thematically, yeah, it makes sense, but strategy-wise, I don't know how I would solve that. Personally, I would just have snow still do passive damage. So maybe it's not pelted with hail, it's, you know, I don't know, they feel frostbite from the low temperatures that cause the snow. And that frostbite is the passive damage rather than getting pelted with snow or pelted with hail. They could have worked that theme in, and I think they should have. But maybe the boost too, maybe it is overall a buff to snow. We'll have to see once competitive play starts to get really rolling as people complete the game and start building and testing out competitive teams and strategies. So we're still in the early stages, but my personal feeling so far is that Snow is overall a nerf from what Hail used to be. Well, I won't say overall a nerf, it's a slight to medium nerf over what Hail used to be. And I haven't actually looked at what existing old Pokemon have had their stats changed or rebalanced. I know there are at least a couple, because there are usually a couple with every new game. I'll probably check that out eventually. I'm glad I went into the game spoiler-free overall, because there is so much that I don't know, so there is so much exploring to do. I get surprised when I see new Pokemon that I knew nothing about previously. And at this point, I have seen all 3 final evolutions of the starters. I picked Quaxly, and I think that the final evolution for Quaxly is probably... I can't say what's truly my favorite since I haven't used all 3 of them yet. I've only used Quaxly. But in my usage of Quaxly, I've been satisfied with the evolution and the final evolution so far. Design-wise, it wasn't what I was expecting, but really I had no expectations. And I like it. Fits the theme of the region and the theme of Quaxly itself, especially once you see the middle stage, which is awkward like all middle stages tend to be. I think Grovyle is probably the only exception to the awkward middle stages that the starters always go through, since Grovyle is really cool. Maybe Frogadier is up there also, as something that's a middle stage that people generally like and don't feel as awkward. It's funny enough that I'm currently raising a Shelgon, the evolution of Bagon, in my playthrough of Scarlet and Violet. For now, I'm not planning on using it, I'm just trying to evolve it into Salamence so I can get Salamence in the Pokedex. The game has a good selection of the old pseudo-legendaries. I haven't checked to see what's version exclusive and what isn't. I'm playing through Violet, I've seen Axew, I've seen Bagon, I've seen... have I seen Gibble? I think I've seen Gibble. I'm not sure if I've seen Gibble or if I saw Gibble on someone else's playthrough. But at least I know Gibble exists in Scarlet and Violet somewhere. Scarlet and or Violet. So those are there. Of course, Dragonite is there. I think Larvitar is somewhere in the game. I don't think... I don't think the Jangmo line is there. Maybe since Jangmo was in Sword and Shield, they've decided to keep it out for this game, or maybe it will be transferable through Pokemon Home. Either way, I haven't seen it so far, but I haven't reached the end game, so I can't say for sure. No Metagross. I haven't seen any of the Metagross line, and I don't think it's in there. Natively, at least. The game has a decent selection of fire types, actually, so it doesn't have that issue that some of the games, particularly Gen 4, had, where there was only 1 to 2 fire type options for the entire playthrough. One of them being the starter, so if you didn't pick the fire starter, you probably weren't going to have a fire type unless you used something like Ponyta. Maybe in Gen 4. I think. Yeah, there's a good selection of fire types you can encounter. Good combination of new and old fire type that I just encountered recently, like in my last play session, is actually the first fire and grass Pokemon. A type combination which myself and many people have been hoping for, and now we finally have it. The design it's a unique, interesting design, so probably won't be super duper popular with people unless it's really strong. But personally, I'm one of those people that do like the quirky and unique designs, so I'm happy with the first Firegrass Pokemon being what it is. I think it's an excellent concept and execution for the first Firegrass type. The only thing about it is I would have either A, made it a pseudo-legendary, so it would have 3 stages and be really strong. It would break up the whole dragon theme that tends to be... that has basically become the whole pseudo-legendary status for all dragons except for a few cases. So I would have made the Firegrass the pseudo-legendary in the game. The pseudo-legendary that does exist in Scarlet and Violet. I just encountered the baby form of it, and I think I managed to evolve it to the middle form. I like it, it's okay. Typing wise, it's a type we've seen before, but not too often, so it's kinda rare. Of course it's a dragon type, another half-dragon type. Haven't had a look at its stats, so I can't say if it's like something that'll be super competitive or maybe really strong and useful, but it probably will be, being a pseudo-legendary. There aren't any of them so far that have been unusably bad. So I figured it'll fall into that range, especially with its typing. It'll fall into a good, solid, usable range to being overused and broken, somewhere in that spectrum. I've enjoyed the story elements and NPCs. I enjoyed the story in Sword and Shield too. I think that this story, so far I believe it does beat out Sword and Shield. I haven't experienced it all yet, so I can't say for sure, but mostly, yeah, due to the elements of the the NPCs. NPCs are so far been all very likable, good designs, creative. Lots of storylines. I went in not expecting to like Team Star because the whole team theme sounds sort of lame, but I think as I'm experiencing the Team Star storyline and experiencing the actual characters, the NPC characters, I think Team Star might reach up to the level of Team Skull in terms of being my favorite of the new style evil teams, which aren't actually evil teams, they're just kind of concepts of annoying groups of people, like the soccer hooligans, the gangster hoodlums, and now we have the school bullies. Even though school bullies is probably not the full term we should use, since they are kind of bullies, but they're also mostly just kind of punks, school punks that don't attend class, and they hole up in their own little hidden places off the campus, and sometimes go onto the campus for whatever reason. So yeah, Team Star has turned out to be a surprise. I'm liking them a lot more than I thought I would. Also, the Herba Mythica questline is really good. I didn't figure it out until I was in the middle of playing it, but the Herba Mythica shortens to HM, and what you get as reward for beating each of the Titans is you unlock a new ability that allows you to travel the world more efficiently. So basically, what happened is they turned what would have been HMs into a quest line, which they did it brilliantly. Very impressed with the Herba Mythica. It adds that element of seeking out hidden, sort of off the beaten path, super boss Pokemon, wild Pokemon encounters. And they combine that with what would have been the boring old, oh, you can't get past that tree until you get the HM to cut. It's a great integration because it all relates to the legendary Pokemon that you ride around on. And of course, starting out, it can't use its full powers, so you can't travel all the ways you would want to, but as you progress, you gain more ability to travel. You can travel in more efficient and better ways, like being able to swim or fly. Speaking of flying, there's no more flying mechanic or renting Pokemon or anything like that at all. You just get a fast travel via, I think it's a taxi service in the game, but basically you open your map and any healing spot that you've been to in the past becomes a point that you can fly to, which is excellent. Again, it's one of those things that it's great for convenience that it's been removed, but it's also kind of maybe I should do a full video or write up and sort of essay on this, but as Pokemon has evolved and become a bigger and bigger mainstream video game franchise, the improvements that they make towards quality of life, some of them are, as they become improvements towards quality of life, they remove some unique elements that are distinctly Pokemon, such as using your Pokemon to fly, for example, fly from town to town, city to city. It gets replaced with what is basically a generic fast travel, like in Skyrim or any other open world game. You open your map, you hover over a location, and boom, you teleport there. And as little things like that, little quality of life things get changed and end up being removed, they become more and more generic to what is the standard of, for example, an open world title. You open your map, you pick the location, and you teleport there. So I think something that Game Freak, I hope they're considering as they continue through the franchise making new games, is finding that balance where they keep what is uniquely Pokemon, the thing that carries that spirit of Pokemon, that unique flair that is Pokemon, while they add these quality of life things that make it more accessible to everyone as a major blockbuster mainstream video game title that everyone wants to play on release. That's why I realize that's why where my distaste for things like the overworld encounters, removal of random battles, I hadn't thought about the HM system that way, since I, like many people, were overall annoyed by the inconvenience of being unable to access whatever part of the map you're trying to get to because, uh-oh, you don't have something that can surf over the water here that's in the way, or uh-oh, you need someone that can break the rock or move the rock, or this cave is dark, you need flash to get through. Those things are irritants that slow the game down, but as I said, they also carry that uniquely Pokemon flair to them. In an ideal world, I'd like to see Game Freak find ways to implement these things that keep that element of Pokemon-ness to them. I haven't given any thought to, like, suggestions of what I would do to handle things in a way that maybe it's not possible to do that. Maybe it's just a fate of a game as it becomes big to lose those things. Because I suppose when you think about it, no game that gets to become a storied, long, 10, 20, 30-year franchise gets to keep all those little quirky elements about them that made them unique. Sometimes they were due to limitations in the hardware or limitations of the time, whatever the time. But those, and I suppose that Pokemon has kept, for as much as it loses, as it transcends and continues through time, it does manage to maintain a lot. So striking that balance is something that I hope is always on Game Freak's mind when they're developing a new game at the forefront. Like, what is Pokemon? What is a Pokemon gameplay experience? What little elements, little things are absolutely indispensable, cannot be changed, must remain? And I know that a lot of people are turned off by the idea that there are things in a series that are absolute staples, cannot be changed, cannot be touched, cannot be messed with. But I also feel that there are just as many people, possibly more, that recognize this and appreciate it, and hope that the developers continue to do that, recognize and appreciate it in that same way, and preserve it, most importantly, as the franchise continues, because there is a point where you cross that line, and nothing is sacred. Everything and anything can be changed, and everything and anything does get changed at some point. And then in that process, you change something that is so fundamental that it breaks whatever it is. And then you don't have what you started with in terms of the franchise anymore. Trying to think of some examples. I mean, any example that you bring up, as a video game or any piece of media, there's going to be people that like it, like the change, didn't like the way it was before, even though that was a critical element of what the majority of people liked about the thing. So you can't really bring up an example because it is so subjective, but people know that feeling. Everyone has that thing, that franchise, that piece of media, that long story, that movie franchise, that book, fantasy book franchise, or that game franchise where it reached the point where the creators just, somewhere along the line, the creators, they wanted to do something new, they wanted to do something different, or they just didn't care and they dropped or removed or retooled or changed some critical elements, and that critical element just shattered whatever the project they were creating was, that new entry, and it turned out to be really bad or really divisive or really controversial for the franchise. I think that happens to every long and storied franchise. It's probably impossible because it is, as I said before, it is subjective, and there are things that blend into it, like nostalgia. People that were born and raised with some elements that gets lost in new interpretations, and then people that are born and raised on those new interpretations, or people that hop in, their hopping in point to the series was that new interpretation. So to them, that is the bestest, onlyest interpretation they've known. This is kind of turning into a diatribe about basically what it means to have a long and storied property, and how to preserve and evolve that property at the same time to keep it relevant and new, and it's ever expanding in terms of its audience, while at the same time keeping those elements that are essentially unique to that franchise and appeal to the people that have been with that franchise since its inception, from early on. And finding that balance is difficult to nay impossible for any franchise that has existed more than, maybe 3 to 5 years. Yeah, that could definitely be an essay on its own, or a video on its own. I'll have to think about that and maybe do some research. The question is, do I want that to be related to the Pokemon series itself, or something more general, speaking about franchises and fandom in general? Okay. So we've got Pans up to level 46. I think that's decent enough to take into the Elite Four. So, Yato now. In the next episode, I suppose, this is a good place to end it, so in the next episode, we shall continue on with the training. I suppose I will continue giving my opinion about Scarlet and Violet, since this video kinda halfway went off the rails just a little bit. But I think it was productive, at least in terms of my thinking through why certain things appeal to me and certain things don't appeal to me as much as others. But yeah, in the next episode we will continue on the training. Hopefully you found my ranting and raving about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet entertaining. If not, I apologize. Thank you for watching. I'd very much appreciate your subscription. Please like and comment and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We're now reaching the point where it will soon be it's just a little bit over a month away now, and soon it will be just 1 month away, and then it'll be less than a month away. I'm at 472 subscribers, I think, so I'd very much appreciate your subscription if you like to see more content like this. And until then, I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.